I'm Zara Patel, 43 years old, and for 13 years, I've carried the legal weight of a betrayal that overturned my courtroom dreams and forced me to draft a new case. It was the spring of 2012, a crisp September morning in Brisbane, the air fresh with the scent of eucalyptus from the city botanic gardens and the distant hum of traffic along Queen Street, when I faced my former partner, Mr. Jeffrey Langston, in the polished boardroom of Langston and Associates, a mid-sized law firm in the CBD. The room, with its gleaming oak table, stacked case files, and the faint tick of a clock, had been my strategic hub during the relentless 14-hour days that defined my early career, a place where the rustle of briefs and the gavel's echo had fueled my passion. But that day had turned into a courtroom where my ambitions were overruled under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights. I was 30 then, a sharp lawyer with a talent for corporate litigation, my proposed merger strategy, featuring tax optimization, a partnership with a green energy firm, and a detailed proposal I drafted, winning a Queensland Law Society award and catching the eye of industry leaders, my leadership earning nods of respect among the diligent staff who saw me as the firm's future. I joined Langston and Associates in 2010 after passing the bar at Queensland University of Technology, bringing a fresh approach to a practice bogged down by traditional methods, manual filings, conservative clients, a turnover rate nearing 21%, my name a quiet hope among associates who believed I could steer a new direction. But that morning, as I presented a detailed plan for a sustainable legal practice, highlighting pro bono work, a collaboration with Brisbane City Council, and a pilot case I prepared to secure a $220,000 state legal grant and elevate the firm's profile, Mr. Langston's demeanor shifted from colleague to foe, his posture stiffening as he adjusted his tie. "You'll never lead this firm. Zara, stick to filing papers," he barked, his voice cutting through the hum of the air conditioner, his eyes narrowing with a mix of jealousy and control as he tapped my proposal with a pen. He confessed, with a cold smile that made my blood run cold, that he'd stolen my strategy, submitting it under his name to the grant committee just days before my presentation, securing the funding and a feature in the Courier Mail that lauded his innovative leadership. To bury me, he orchestrated my demotion with fabricated accusations, missed deadlines based on altered calendars, unprofessional conduct from a staged dispute over a client meeting, backed by a loyal clerk he'd pressured, and a conveniently timed server crash that lost my digital drafts, which I'd stored in a secure folder that appeared corrupted after an IT update. The partnership board, swayed by Mr. Langston's 12-year tenure, his connections to a corporate donor who'd funded the firm's expansion, and my lack of allies, my drafts gone, leaving me voiceless, upheld his decision in 2013, reassigning me to administrative tasks, my reputation tarnished across Brisbane's legal circle as unreliable and overzealous, a blemish that clung to me like ink on a contract. My partner, Ravi, a steady accountant with a love for cricket and a calm demeanor, supported me, but our savings dwindled under mortgage payments in Toowong, our dream of a riverside home with a study fading into the cramped reality of a flat with faded curtains, a creaky desk, and a noisy fan that whirred through the nights. Those words, "Never lead this firm, stick to filing papers," became a relentless echo, a haunting refrain that reverberated through every file I sorted, every brief I copied, every moment I stood alone in the records room, the sound mingling with the hum of printers and the shuffle of footsteps. I can still feel the weight of those early months after the demotion, sitting at that creaky desk in our flat, the Story Bridge visible through the window a reminder of my lost authority, as I flipped through legal journals and job listings in the Australian, the ink smudging my fingers with each turn of the page, my eyes burning with exhaustion after sleepless nights replaying Mr. Langston's betrayal. The flat, with its thrift store furniture, a wobbly table Ravi had salvaged from a clearance sale, a chair with a worn seat he'd patched with tape, and a single window overlooking a busy street where buses roared, felt a world apart from the boardroom I'd envisioned, its air heavy with the lingering scent of paper and coffee I'd brought home on my briefcase, a reminder of the life I'd lost. Ravi took on extra tax audits, returns for small businesses in Ipswich, payrolls in Logan, his evenings spent calculating under a flickering desk lamp, the scent of ledger ink and chai a testament to his sacrifice, while I pieced together a fragile existence with part-time paralegal work in Redcliffe, mediation gigs in Caboolture, and weekend shifts at a law library in South Brisbane. Each case a fight to reclaim my practice. Every dollar a step toward survival in a city where office rent soared. And legal dreams felt out of reach. Our son, Arjun, born in 2014 after years of hoping, grew up surrounded by law books turned into toys. Case files stacked beside his crib, his childish questions a tender ache. "Why don't you argue in court anymore, Mummy?" he'd ask, his small hands tracing the edges of my award plaque. I'd smile through the tightness in my chest, spinning tales of new battles to win for the world. But the truth gnawed at me. Mr. Langston had blacklisted me, his narrative of my instability spreading to firms and courts, his influence a barrier to my advancement, leaving me stuck in the files of a career I'd once led. Mr. Langston's career prospered in the years that followed. By 2018, he'd expanded Langston and Associates into a regional powerhouse, his name etched on awards from the Law Council of Australia, his wealth evident in a riverside mansion in Hamilton, a holiday apartment in Noosa, and a leased Mercedes for his rounds. He hosted lavish legal dinners at the Brisbane Convention Centre, his wife Margaret dazzling in evening gowns at charity events for justice reform, his daughter Sophie rising as a junior lawyer with a degree from the University of Queensland, while I rebuilt quietly, starting a small legal consultancy by 2016 from our living room. My clients grew, small businesses in Gympie, families in Toowoomba, who valued my advice, my reputation a quiet undercurrent in Brisbane's legal scene, passed along at community centres and local courts. But the wound deepened with every milestone of Mr. Langston's success. His smug talks at the Queensland Bar Association, Margaret's Instagram posts from the Gold Coast, Sophie's clerkship at a top firm, each a fresh gavel strike. My parents, both gone by 2021, had believed his lies, their final years dimmed by his version of events, their calls filled with concern over my struggles. Arjun, now an 11-year-old fascinated by debate kits, wrestled with confusion, his early interests shadowed by Mr. Langston's influence, his questions about my work strained by his admiration for the man. Robbie's unwavering support, his hand-drawn balance sheets, his late-night cricket commentary over cups of masala chai, his repairs of our noisy fan, kept me anchored, his love a steady precedent in the turmoil. The turning point came 4 years ago, in 2021, when the first cracks in Mr. Langston's polished facade appeared. His firm faced lawsuits over client fraud, associates posted viral complaints on X about unethical practices, and a whistleblower exposed falsified billing records in a Brisbane Times exposé. At 39, with my back aching from years of hunching over files, I began my discreet investigation, contacting old clerks over tea at cafes in West End. I'd meet them in the early mornings, my notebook a shield, listening to their tales of Mr. Langston's decline. Overworked staff, cut corners, a culture of fear, over plates of scones and Earl Grey. Last month, on July 20th, 2025, I sat with Priya, a former clerk who'd left in 2020, at a cafe in Paddington, the hum of espresso machines a faint backdrop. Her trembling hands passed me a USB drive. "He's unraveling. Stolen strategies, fake bills, pressure on us to hide errors," she whispered, her voice thick with regret. "That merger was yours, Zara." My pulse raced. This was the evidence I'd waited for. On August 10th, 2025, I contacted Nina, a journalist with the Courier Mail who'd uncovered legal scandals with a sharp pen, meeting her at her cluttered office in Fortitude Valley. We pored over the USB, photos of my 2012 proposal draft, detailed logs of Mr. Langston's theft, emails hinting at bribed auditors. "This could disbar him," Nina said, her eyes narrowing. "But we need the right verdict." On August 22nd, 2025, I dug deeper, turning our flat into a detective's lair. Amid law texts and brief stacks, I accessed public records online, my fingers stiff but resolute. At 10 a.m., I found it, a 2023 audit report buried in the Queensland Legal Services Commission archives, tied to my plan, now linked to a fraud scandal that cost the firm $280,000 in penalties. My hands shook as I printed it, the past merging with the present in a surge of clarity. That evening, at 8:49 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 6, 2025, I sat by my window, the Brisbane skyline a soft glow, plotting my next move. The Queensland Law Society Awards were on September 20th, a glittering event to mask Mr. Langston's decline. I'd attend, not as a filer, but as his reckoning. What he didn't know was I transformed my pain into a brief of justice, argued by 13 years of resilience. The 4 weeks leading to the awards were a meticulous preparation of strategy and discretion, my days running the consultancy a facade for the revenge, pleading in my mind. By August 25th, 2025, our flat, its walls lined with legal texts faded by humidity, its table cluttered with brief drafts stained with ink, its air tinged with the scent of paper and chai, evolved into a war room where every penciled note and file review fueled my resolve. Nina and I met nightly, her recorder open on my creaky desk as we dissected the USB and audit reports, the software of the fan a rhythm to our planning. My 2012 merger strategy, with its tax optimization and green focus, had won Mr. Langston his grant, its success a cornerstone of his rise, while my pro bono tweaks, community legal aid I'd proposed, had been misused, leading to the 2023 scandal. Prius data revealed a pattern: stolen plans from 2013, falsified bills in 2019, a cover-up of a 2021 client loss hushed with auditor bribes, a fragile firm on the edge. I contacted Dr. Singh, a retired judge who'd clashed with Mr. Langston over a 2016 case dispute, his authoritative voice joining us via a crackling Zoom call from his home in Ipswich. "This could strike him off. Hit him during his speech," he advised, his tone laced with old grudges. I nodded, my plan a case built from 13 years of suppressed fury, each argument a memory of lost clients, stolen credit, shattered trust. The awards, set for 7 p.m. on September 20th, 2025, at the Brisbane Convention Centre, would be Mr. Langston's platform, a gathering of lawyers, judges, media, and clients, all drawn by the promise of prestige under the venue's modern atrium. I'd pose as a retired lawyer, my suit swapped for a modest outfit with a hidden pocket, my movements slow with a cane to mask my intent, my dark hair in a sleek bun a symbol of my enduring advocacy. My task was to deliver the evidence to Nina, who'd signal Dr. Singh's legal board contacts at 8 p.m., timed with Mr. Langston's acceptance speech, ensuring maximum exposure. I secured an invitation through Arjun, now an 11-year-old who'd impressed a judge's son at a debate club, his email on August 28th, a laminated pass I clutched like a gavel, his note reading, "You're my advocate, mummy." He suspected nothing, his curiosity a tool I'd wield with care. Preparation was a rigorous trial, a blend of physical discipline and emotional steel. I practiced my shuffle daily along the Brisbane River, perfecting a weary gait and a warm, unassuming smile that hid my burning resolve, my cane tapping a rhythm of patience against the path. I rehearsed lines, just here to honor legal heritage, though each word carried the weight of Mr. Langston's betrayal, Ravi's steadfast love, and Arjun's silent pride in my past. Physically, I reviewed cases and drafted motions daily, my back protesting, but each argument strengthened my will to stand tall that night. I revisited old mementos, proposal drafts from 2012, a faded photo with Ravi at a legal gala, a gavel Arjun decorated, a rejected grant proposal, each a spark in my fire. One night, I found a corrupted file from the server crash, its data lost, and wept, the lost strategy fueling my fury. I tracked Arjun's life, his debate practice, his friendship with a classmate named Ethan, hoping this act would secure his future free from Mr. Langston's shadow. On September 17th, Mr. Langston called, his tone smooth with false warmth. "Zara, the awards are a milestone. Bring Arjun, let's settle scores," he said, his voice polished but laced with condescension. I agreed, hiding my scheme. He didn't suspect I'd coordinated with Nina, who'd lined up Dr. Singh's contacts, or that I'd commissioned an outfit with a hidden pocket, its fabric a shield of my past honor. The outfit arrived on September 19th, tailored by a local seamstress from Woolloongabba, Mrs. Kumar, who chatted about her sewing, unaware of my mission. I tested the pocket, sliding the USB and awed it inside, there weighed a promise of justice. At 6:30 p.m. on September 20th, I arrived, the convention center alive with the clink of glasses and the murmur of excited lawyers, the river glinting through the atrium. Mr. Langston spotted me near the entrance, smirking. "Zara, still filing?" "Endearing," he quipped. I nodded, my cane steady, my pocket ready. At 7:45 p.m., he began his speech, launching into a tale of his legal legacy and unveiling a new merger echoing mine. I scanned the scene, Arjun clapping awkwardly, Ethan beside him, media filming, Margaret sipping champagne with a smug grin, Sophie adjusting her father's notes. At 7:58 p.m., as Mr. Langston praised his vision, I edged toward Nina, my pulse a drumbeat. I slipped her the USB and awed it, whispering, "Now." She nodded, texting Dr. Singh. At 8:02 p.m., board members stormed in, badges glinting under the atrium lights, shouting, "Investigation underway." Mr. Langston's brief fell, his face paling as they seized his tablet. The awards ceremony descended into a whirlwind of pandemonium, attendees scattering like startled ibises fleeing the convention center's sleek hall, media cameras pivoting to capture every frame of the unfolding drama, Mr. Langston's protests drowned by the authoritative commands of board members that reverberated off the glass atrium, the lights casting fractured beams across the scene. Arjun stood stunned near a refreshment table, Ethan's hand on his shoulder offering silent support, his eyes wide with shock as the truth hit, while lawyers murmured in clusters, their professional world shaken by the scandal. I stood tall, my outfit a badge of my hard-earned resolve forged over 13 years, my cane a symbol of strength that had carried me through the toughest cases, my heart pounding with a mix of 13 years of vindication and the bittersweet ache of a family nearly lost to Mr. Langston's deceit that had cast a long shadow. Board members swarmed the stage, their dark suits a stark contrast to the venue's modern decor of steel beams and carpet, cuffing Mr. Langston as he roared, "This is a farce, Zara, you'll pay," his voice cracking with the desperation of a man watching his firm dissolve. They read charges, plagiarism that stripped his awards, falsified records that undermined his reputation, ethical violations that deceived clients. Each word a hammer blow to his legacy, the list growing with a $320,000 fine for unaccounted grants that funded his mansion, their voices steady as they recited the litany. Nina approached, her voice a lifeline amid the din of shouting and camera shutters. "They've got him, Zara. You've done it. His gavel's down," she said, her eyes alight with the thrill of the exposé. The media frenzy was immediate. Headlines like Langston's legal collapse and lawyer's 13-year revenge blazed across screens by 10 p.m., my name a murmur of awe in the chaos that swirled through the center, microphones thrust toward me like subpoenas seeking a witness. Mr. Langston turned to me, his face flushed with rage that mottled his once authoritative features, sweat beading on his brow like condensation on a window, his tailored suit now rumpled as board members tightened their grip on his arms, his posture slumping under the weight of defeat. "You! After all this time, you petty little filer? You've destroyed my practice!" he bellowed, his voice breaking with the desperation of a man whose verdict was sealed, his hands shaking as he pointed at me with a trembling finger. I met his gaze, unflinching despite the tremor in my own hands that betrayed the adrenaline coursing through me, my voice clear and resonant with the strength of 13 years of silent suffering that had honed my resolve. "You said I'd never lead this firm, Mr. Langston, that I was only fit for filing papers. I proved you wrong, with evidence that outlasts your lies, with grit that outran your schemes, with every case I built while you stole and faltered. This is my payback for me, for Arjun whose future you shadowed, for every associate you crushed, for every client you derailed with your ego." He lunged, his fist raised in a futile gesture of defiance that spoke of his last grasp at control, but board members restrained him with firm hands, dragging him out as Margaret sobbed hysterically, her champagne flute slipping to shatter on the floor in a spray of glass, a symbol of her fallen status. Arjun rushed to me, his voice breaking through the noise like a lifeline tossed into a stormy courtroom. "Mummy, I didn't know. I'm sorry for believing him," he said, tears streaking his face as he wrapped his arms around me, the first embrace in months that mended a rift I'd feared growing. I hugged him back, the warmth of his body against mine a balm to the wounds of the past, Ethan nodding in support with a quiet smile, a bridge to a future reclaimed from the briefs of my past. The crowd buzzed with reporters, their microphones thrust toward me like gavels seeking a ruling, but I turned away, My victory a private argument burning bright within, a judgment no scandal could overturn. The fallout was swift and relentless, a ruling that dismantled the remnants of Mr. Langston's legal empire. Board members suspended him from Langston and Associates, seizing offices in the CBD and storage rooms in Fortitude Valley where files sat silent, records from billing logs hauled away in boxes, freezing his personal accounts that held the profits of his deceit, halting his dinners across Queensland where he'd once presided, while inspectors raided his Hamilton mansion for evidence of fraud, uncovering a safe with falsified contracts. His firm collapsed like a poorly argued case, his reputation tarnished beyond repair, law firms distancing themselves with press releases, his name a cautionary tale whispered in courts from Cairns to the Gold Coast, a fallen partner replaced by silence. The media dug deeper, uncovering a $130,000 slush fund for bribed auditors that funded his Noosa apartment and Margaret's wardrobe, a detail that sent shockwaves through the Queensland legal sector and prompted a state inquiry, the scandal dominating morning news. Arjun reconciled fully, joining me in learning legal basics for our flat, while Ravi and I planned a riverside getaway to a home we'd finally saved for, the scent of eucalyptus a promise of peace. Margaret vanished from gala circuits, her social circle dissolving like a receding tide, and Sophie, Mr. Langston's daughter, distanced herself, seeking a legal role under a new mentor to escape the taint. I didn't gloat. My goal was justice, not destruction, a balance I'd learned from years of defending others. But the sight of Mr. Langston's fall brought a profound peace that filled the hollow left by his words, a quiet satisfaction that settled in my soul like a well-settled precedent. That morning, at 8:49 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on September 6, 2025, I sat with a cup of chai that glowed amber in the dawn light, the news confirming his suspension on a muted radio, a letter from Mr. Langston in hand, its envelope creased from my grip. Zara, I was wrong. Help me, it pleaded, his handwriting shaky with the defeat that had finally overtaken him, the ink smudged as if by tears of regret. I didn't reply, the past too raw, my strength too hard-won to soften now, the paper crumpling in my fist as I set it aside to focus on the courtroom ahead. Months later, his hearing began in a courtroom in Brisbane Supreme Court, board members and inspectors wielding my evidence with the precision of a legal brief, Priya's testimony a damning narrative of professional corruption, and Dr. Singh's audit records a final verdict, the gallery filled with former clerks who nodded in silent support, their ties traded for suits. I attended the first day, my presence a silent testament to my journey from filer to this moment, seated beside Arjun and Ravi, whose hand I held tightly, and watched Mr. Langston's defense crumble under the weight of truth. Dozens of former staff stepping forward with tales of pressure and theft, their voices a chorus of validation that echoed through the room. The judge, a stern jurist with a passion for justice and a gavel that rang like a courtroom bell, ordered a full investigation, hinting at a potential disbarment and fines that loomed like a hung jury, his ruling a vindication of my 13-year wait. Arjun and I launched Patel Legal Aid, restoring family pride with community services, hiring Priya as an administrator whose expertise bridged my past and present, while Ravi retired from accounting to teach financial literacy to youth, his hands finding new purpose in ledgers. I visited Langston and Associates once, its offices silent with the absence of Mr. Langston's voice, its gavels a memory of my youth, a monument to his greed and my redemption that stood tall in my heart. My revenge, 13 years in the making, was not just justice served with a strike of spite. It was my rebirth, a firm reclaim from the wreckage of his sabotage, a testament to the resilience I'd always carried within, a case that grew stronger with each argument I won.